It's podcadzo.
Each peanut is like a snowflake, you know? They're all unique. They're all different.
I'm not sure that's true.
No, I did my research.
Yeah, what was that?
I've seen every peanut, and they're all slightly different.
I bet there's several peanuts that are exactly the same.
You know how much of an
On
ignorant...
a nanometer level.
You sound like an ignorant piece of trash right now.
Dude, you're the one who sounds like an ignorant
No.
you.
You.
Welcome to podcadzo. Let's restart. I don't like this negative
Cut all
energy
this
we're
out.
bringing in.
You literally... Pretty sure your first words were you, and you're wrong, so...
I
You're
said,
the one who brought the negative energy.
no, you said you have no idea how ignorant you are right
I said
now.
all peanuts are different, and you said, no, you're all the same.
Dude, because they're obviously
And
not all
I-
different. There's 100 billion peanuts, and most of them are exactly the same.
Hey, Siri,
I forgot what I was even going to look up.
are all peanuts the same?
Here, I'll try Are peanuts like snowflakes?
Certain cultivator group. Are peanuts like snowflakes? Siri, are peanuts like snowflakes? Oh, that's funny. It brought up the snowflake song from Peanuts, you know? Like the cartoon.
My Google did the same thing. Oh,
So
wait,
I'm kinda
no,
right.
Here's a Twitter about peanuts are like snowflakes. Everyone
Okay.
is different.
There we go. That's all the evidence I need.
No. This guy's an idiot. It's not
No.
from anyone legitimate.
If someone else
It
had the thought besides
15
me,
likes.
yeah, but that doesn't matter. He's
And-
probably working on a small scale.
His is of the his pictures of peanuts in the shell. He's saying the shells are different.
Yeah,
Which,
that's what
I
I'm thinking.
Really, you're thinking that? I thought you
Yeah.
meant the actual peanut.
No, the peanut, the thing that comes off the tree or what plant, bush, vine.
The peanut is the meat of the shell.
The whole thing
brother.
is called a peanut, though.
I thought it was the peanut and outside the shell.
No, the peanut is the thing, and then the nut is the thing that you eat.
Okay, well,
In my
I'm willing
mind.
to.
Yeah, all peanuts with their clothes on are like snowflakes.
Okay. Well, that was good. You really changed my mind on that.
Good.
We started
Now,
off
please excuse me
disagreeing.
while I text.
Okay. I'll introduce this episode. Welcome to Podcadzo.
What are you introducing it as?
Today we have a variety of topics we're
Today's
going to discuss.
Dirty Laundry Day on Podcadzo.
Yes.
We're airing our grievances.
Obviously, we've already started.
We didn't start.
We started, bro.
You did.
Those were straight up grievances.
You. What did I? Where grievance on my part?
I was grieved heavily.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're the one with the grievances.
Yeah, and I aired it just now.
You know the album Grievances by Wald City?
I've never even heard of any of those words.
Bro.
What's
Have
the
I
name of
not
that?
told you about Wald City for reals?
Mm-mm.
Bro, dude, they're like one of my
What are
favorite
they
bands
called?
of all time. Wald City.
Cow wound wall silly.
You know, like, well, it's like Kowloon. Like the Wald City.
How do you spell that?
Kowloon. Walled City.
Walled City.
If you just Google that, it's gonna bring up like the actual.
Yeah,
Kowloon
okay.
Walled City.
Kowloon Walled City was an extremely densely
Yeah.
populated and largely ungoverned
really not-
enclave of China within the boundaries of Kowloon City. I've heard of this. No.
Seems like something that a history buff such as yourself would be well versed in.
When have I ever claimed I was a history buff? Never.
I claimed you as one.
Well, don't put that on me.
You're the one who's always talking about Hitler and then being like, I think it's just fun history.
I'm a
Like,
Hitler buff. I'm a history buff. Don't get it twisted.
I definitely won't. Okay, but
What's
yeah,
the name of the
band,
album you like by them?
Grievances.
Grievance. Oh, right. That's the
They're-
start of this whole thing.
Every album by Wald City is amazing.
I'm going to
You
check
should
this
listen to every album of theirs. Their latest album, Piecework, is honestly probably their best one, but Grievances is their second best one,
out. Okay.
in my opinion. Robert and Will think Container Ships is the best, but I think that's just because Container Ships is like the most energetic.
Pitchfork-
They're like a halftime. They're like a halftime, really doomy, super sad like post metal band, but like they use like clean guitar tones and like well, they don't exclusively use clean guitar tones, but they use a lot of like clean guitar, and they use a lot of like really dissonant chords and super interesting like just phrasing on songs and stuff, and they're great.
I'll check.
Can't believe I never brought them up to you.
Yeah, the more we're talking about it, the more familiar they sound. We've maybe talked about it a little bit. Pitchfork gave Grievances a 7.8. Pretty good. More than they gave No Name by Jack White.
Really?
Which
Yeah,
brings us right in.
Pitchfork doesn't like Jack
White. I think
White.
they gave it a 7.3.
They're always talking about how like gimmicky and how much they don't like Jack White. But
let's just read. Okay, so here, before I get into the Pitchfork album, you had something. You had a few corrections to make.
Yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to, because I haven't been able to sleep since our last filming because of this. Because I remember specifically saying, certain songs I just know Daru Jones played drums on. It turns out
you were wrong.
Dead wrong. But I don't think it's my fault. Like the last time there was an album cycle,
I don't think so.
I called it like, every song Daru Jones played drums on, I was like, that's Daru. And I was right.
I believed you wholeheartedly.
So, I know. I really led you down a false narrative.
I have some
I'm
calls
sorry.
to make. This affects me.
Does this include calling like a lawyer? Or?
No, just my friend saying, hey, you know how I talked a big game about Daru Jones playing
on the new
this
Jack
song?
White?
I was misinformed by Julian.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm sorry. So, like, now you probably won't be able to sleep at night.
I wasn't.
Your homie
anyways.
won't be able to sleep. Oh, well, yeah, you've been pretty much constantly talking about that. So.
Yeah.
Still not getting any better.
No. It's gotten worse. I had the craziest nightmare I've ever had last night.
Let's
not even get into it, bro.
Not
it's
getting
too
into
crazy.
the nightmare? No, I wouldn't touch nightmares. That's usually when someone says like I had a nightmare, like I'm not gonna be like, oh, what was it about? Like they'll tell me if they want me to know, because otherwise, yeah, that's
my
a
nightmare is
traumatizing
literally
thing.
too scary to air.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to scare you or give you PTSD.
I'd scare myself.
I wouldn't want myself to get
retelling
scared.
the story.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Woo. I forgot about how
kind of like a campfire
spooky
story.
it is. Yeah.
Have you ever tried like melatonin or anything?
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Not really.
Have you ever tried CBN?
Yeah, I had like an oil thing one time with CBN in it, I think. I don't know. Sometimes they work. It's just when I was like in a good melatonin habit, I feel like that was working. See, we can't talk about my sleep every time. Let's get off of this. Let's get back to your redaction.
Okay, so also just a fun fact.
Uh-huh.
Since we're talking about Colin Walled City, their lead singer and one of their guitarists, same guy, singer guitarist.
Yeah.
He does both.
Yep. Oh, interesting.
Something you could never
I've
do.
never heard. Yeah, never heard of such a thing.
Anyway,
He must
produced
suck
a new,
at both of them because that's the only way you could do it. Oh, he
Yeah.
produced it?
Mm-hmm. He produced it.
What's
and,
his name?
Scott Evans. He also produced the last
I've seen
three
that.
Thrice records. He produces a bunch of shit.
Yeah, I've seen the name
He
Scott Evans
engineers
around
a
a
bunch
lot.
of shit. Yeah, but okay, so I got the new Jack White in a physical copy from my local record store because that's how you had to acquire this.
Uh-huh.
The dude who I got this from at the record store downtown, he basically said...
Also, it's vinyl?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Weirdly enough, yeah, they actually got some. I guess not weirdly enough, but the story will make that comment make more sense in a second. So he basically said, Third Man sent them an order sheet like 2 days before the record actually was supposed to have a physical release. And they just were supposed to tell Third Man how many they wanted to order, and then they got no other communications. So when I called the store and asked if they had it, he was like, we're supposed to get it, but I don't know how many we're going to get or when they're going to get here.
Yeah.
4 days later, he calls me up. He's like, we just got it in. Do you want me to save you one? And I was like, fuck yeah. Because every other record store in town that had these was like, we're not saving them. It's first come, first serve, blah, blah, blah. So that dipshits could go buy it. Hey, local record stores, if you're listening, whenever you do stupid shit like that, people just show up and they buy it not because they like it, but because when you say like, oh, first come, first serve, then they know that record has inherent value. Then they just go and buy it and fucking resell it. So you're not actually helping real fans out by doing that. If you're listening to this and you own a record store in Fort Collins, please, if someone calls asking about a record, specifically asking about a record, you
put
should
it
take
aside
that,
for 'em.
take that at their word and be like, oh, that's a true fan. They wouldn't know about this release. They wouldn't, be calling and asking if we had copies, if they were just going to
Yeah. So
fucking
shout out
resell it on
All
the
Sales
internet.
Vinyl. I love that store.
Shout out All Sales Vinyl. The people that run that store are fucking amazing. So, got my copy. Really cool stuff. Basically, Daru Jones doesn't play drums on any of the songs I thought he played drums on.
Oh, okay.
Not only that, it's like 4 songs out of the 13 that Daru Jones is playing drums on, and like half those songs he's only playing partial drums, or like there's multiple drummers on the song. So I'm not going to go through song by song, but it is really interesting to note, like, pretty much the entire record, drum-wise, was tracked by Patrick Keeler. Olivia Jean, who's Jack White's wife, plays drums on, I think, track 2 or track 3. Yeah, track 3. So that was interesting. And she also plays bass on track 1. So a little bit of a family affair,
It's a family affair.
But yeah, so pretty much the whole record is Patrick Keeler playing drums. And I just wanted to say, like, I personally think, like, Jack White always picks specific people for specific projects because of, like, what they bring to the project. Hence why he works with Daru Jones and Carla Azar, because he knows exactly what they're going to bring to a project. But with Patrick's performance on this, it feels like kind of the opposite. Like, he was kind of like a fucking chameleon, where he was like, I'll just be whatever you need me to be. And I'll sound like Daru, I'll sound like Carla. There's moments that sound like Patrick Keeler, but then overall, in my opinion, like, the way he plays and the things that he comes up with on this record for the drums are just like an amalgamation of everything else up to this point from Jack White's career, which I just think is super impressive. Like, a drummer that can pivot so much and give a record just exactly what it needs rather than, like, giving it what he wants to give it. I just think that's really cool, especially because, like, I don't know, he's always been, like, in my opinion, a pretty technical drummer from the standpoint of, like, coming up with very original parts, having multiple intricacies of the parts, like, going on, especially, like, Rack and Tours, which is Jack White's other project with him. So it's just weird, like, that the drums on this are, like, so simple and so, like, reduxed and minimalistic, but also super personified and remind me of so many different drummers all at the same time that don't really remind me of Patrick Keeler at all. I just think that's super impressive. So I just want to take a second to say I'm sorry to everyone who I misinformed, and also just kind of say, like, yeah, fuck yeah, Patrick Keeler. Like, I didn't really know he had this in the tank, and it was kind of interesting. At first, I thought that Jack White chose to collaborate with him, like, over 10 years into his solo career, but now it makes a lot of sense because he's just, like, a dude who has a bunch of different styles that can blend the styles in a really good way and just, like, do what the song needs more than anything else. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Very brave of you to make that correction. Very important correction to make.
I
Glad
think
you
I
did
deserve
it.
a lot of praise.
I think so too, and you will receive it, I'm sure, one day, but not from me.
From somebody else.
From somebody else. I'm
right.
glad this album came up too, because since we recorded that episode, I've been listening to nothing else pretty much. Oh, that is good looking vinyl.
Yeah, it won't
Dang,
really
I'm gonna
show
have
on the
to
camera,
go.
but
I'm gonna have to go get myself a copy.
it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I've been listening to it nonstop. It's maybe my favorite album of the year.
It grew on you?
Yeah, hugely.
Because last time we talked, you hadn't really even finished it yet.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just like a record.
Exactly. It was like a garage rock, blues, punk record. And I liked how it was sounding, but yeah, I've spent a lot more time with it now. And especially the first half of it is like everything. I like the whole album, but everything through Bombing Out, the 6-track, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Best first half of an album in a while. Archbishop Harold Holmes is like the coolest song
It's
ever.
such a cool
I fucking
song.
love that song.
Yeah.
I've shown so many people the song. I'm like, this is a real letter by this dude, Archbishop Harold Holmes. He's just reciting it. Isn't that cool?
Again, probably. We never actually did our research there, but at the end of the song, he's like, "Signed, sincerely yours, love and truly."
Let's make sure to check that.
No.
Archbishop.
I don't want to be
Well,
wrong
I don't want to
twice
have
in
to
one
do
episode.
another redact next week.
That just means we have to keep talking about this record. But yeah, no, it's kind of the same for me. Like, I knew I was gonna love it right away, but I've just been listening to it like on my drive to work and then my drive home from work every single day. Like, it's just on repeat for me right now. I think my personal favorite at the moment is Bless Yourself.
Yeah.
That song just goes so hard. And it's just such a simple idea, but it's so lively and just like fucking, I can feel the rage. And then...
All right, Julian, man, we fucked up. Trisha Harold Holmes is not a real person.
But he's made it sound like a letter.
It made it sound like a real letter. It's a reference to The Music Man, a classic Broadway musical whose protagonist is a con man named Harold Hill. Okay. Regardless, it could be a real letter.
See, this is what happens when you look stuff up.
We shouldn't do it. I wanted to talk about that Pitchfork review real quick.
Yeah.
So it got a 7.6 out of 10. And here's... Pitchfork just can't relent on anything.
Nah, dude, they
obviously like the album, but they have to start it with this opening paragraph.
Pitchfork literally sucks fat donkey dick.
Somewhere between his increasingly fussy solo albums and certainly by the time he started policing audiences' cell phones, it became clear that Jack White was not the uninhibited nonconformist he played so convincingly with the White Stripes. Since that duo disbanded in 2011, White has systematically sucked almost all the fun from his image, revealing that this avatar of effortless cool was actually bound by a complicated code of unwritten rules he was more than happy to lecture music publications about. You're one to talk about fucking lecturing unwritten rules. Pitchfork.
Dude, what the fuck? That's so fucking lame.
Isn't that insane?
There's just so many parts of that make no fucking sense. Like, you thought Jack White was cool, like the cool laid back guy in the White Stripes?
He was obviously an uptight, neurotic,
more of a fucking dick back then. Like, okay, we've talked about this in the past, but go watch it Might Get Loud if you want to see how much of a fucking asshole Jack White was 20 years
he
ago.
Came across as
like,
such a...
He's completely different.
It seems like he's
now.
done nothing but chill out.
He's got
since
nothing.
Then.
He's done nothing but get more relaxed and take more chances and get more open-minded as time's gone on. Like... When White Stripes were going on, he literally said, like, if you're not struggling to make songs, like, if you're not fighting your instrument and fighting your equipment every step of the way, then you're not making real music. Now he, like, has a fucking high-end studio and records digitally, and, like, everything's a piece of cake for him, and he plays really nice instruments, and, like, there's none of that facade of, like, if you're not doing it this way, then you're a fucking prick. Like, he dropped all of that, like, pretty much, in my opinion, Blunderbuss or Lazaretto at the latest. And the whole thing of like him trying to maintain an image and like all that bullshit is like he's flawlessly done that. He maintains an image and an aesthetic across his shit with like no effort whatsoever.
And like, what does increasingly fussy solo albums mean?
Yeah, because he's getting more political, because he's getting more personal about his shit, because his songs aren't just like made up stories about some fucking random shit. Like, they're mad that his albums, and if I could guess, I would guess it's kind of like the Tool thing with Maynard James Keenan, which is the best example I can think of, where like it's an old man yelling at trains. Like, the songs are about like phone usage is destroying our brains and like social media is tearing us apart. And like, no one wants to be fucking lectured by a 60-year-old dude about that shit who's recording into a $60,000 fucking console in a studio. But with Jack White, his gripes aren't like that. His gripes are just about the fact that people don't live presently in the moment at shows. And like, we've all been to a show. Like, you're excited to see the band. You're fucking hyped about the fact that like they're going to be in person and you're going to be there and there's like nothing separating you from them. And then the fucking dickhead in front of you, first song is holding the entire show
for some reason.
And I kind of was skeptical the first time I went to a Jack White show and I put my phone in the bag. I was like, this seems kind of fucking whack. But then literally that show was the best show I had ever been to. The audience was fully engaged the whole time. The best part was the set and the fucking vibe of the show weren't fucking ruined by YouTube videos and people just posting whatever the fuck they want on Instagram. Like, there was actually an element of surprise and mystique to the show.
And
you
to
wouldn't
say-
get that if you don't go to the fucking shows. Like, anyone who goes to the show that works for Pitchfork is sitting in a fucking box in the back of the venue just being like, oh, it sounds like shit up here. Brr. You
Yeah.
know, like, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Rant
you're good.
over.
He on the cell phone thing, they cite that as him being a conformist too. He was like the
absolute
first dude
opposite
to
of
do that. And,
conformity.
yeah.
No one does that.
No one
Like,
does that.
artists these days play shows hoping that like new shit gets leaked on the internet, or like the live version of whatever gets leaked on the internet.
Yeah,
That's like part of it now. But like, Jack White doesn't need that. He just puts on good shows instead, like with actual fucking substance, you know?
So, anyways, the album does ruin out a little bit, and they come around to say that they like the album. It was nice.
You like the album? Oh
yeah.
wow! Thanks for your fucking.
Yeah,
I don't even
glad
know.
he was
like,
able to please you, Pitchfork. So much. Yeah, I
fucking
can't fucking
dickheads,
stand
dude.
Pitchfork.
Yeah, they're the worst.
They're the worst.
Even when they review a record that I like positively, it's still like for the wrong reasons. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Even like since we were talking about Calhoun, I remember reading that Calhoun review, and it was largely positive, and they were talking about like how much they liked it, but they were talking about like, again, superficial shit, like, oh, like the lyrics are more profound on this one, or like, the bass sounds better, there's more production value, but not actually being like the songs are better, which like that's what you're supposed to focus on. You can't not like this record because you don't like Jack White's aesthetic, or you don't like the fact that he's maybe different than he was when he was in the White Stripes over 20 years ago. Like,
yeah, for real.
Fucking dipshits, dude.
I never even read them.
It's so
But anyways,
like
I
was just gonna say, we give our opinions on the internet about stuff all the time, but the difference between like just us doing it, or like anyone that we know doing it, and like a Pitchfork publication, is that they act like their shit is word of law.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they act like holier than thou with their publications, and being like, honestly, like if you like this, then fuck, I don't even know what's wrong with you. Like,
and when it's a
dude,
good review, they're like, you're welcome
this
for blessing
is so
you.
good that like we showed the world this music. Like, no, fuck.
Now
fuck you
Jack
guys.
White can continue to have a prosperous career because Pitchfork gave him a
reviewed his album.
7.6 out of 10. Anyways, any closing remarks on Jack White?
I think the best thing about Jack White, my favorite part about Jack White as an artist, is that despite that bullshit, he'll do exactly whatever the fuck he wants to do. And like, if everybody hates it, like with, Boarding House Reach, for instance, which like people didn't hate it, but people didn't love it either. And a lot of people were like, it's super messy, super unorganized, not very like streamlined of a record. Even if, like, I don't know, even if he gets a review like that, he's still going to go out on like a 2-year run, tour the entire world, and play the songs exactly how the fuck he wants to play them.
Yeah.
Like, none of it matters to him, which is how it should be. Like, a lot of artists, they'll be like, oh yeah, we don't really care about that, but then they'll change their aesthetic from release to release, or they'll like majorly change their sound from release to release, or they'll just like dig and try and make attempts until they have like one song that's popular. But Jack White is literally just like, nah, fuck it, like every album's blue, like everything's blue.
Yeah.
Like, my people wear suits on stage, like, it doesn't matter what people think. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do. So
No, for sure.
that's why he's the man. And Pitchfork can literally go fuck themselves.
I hope they listen to this and take heed to your advice there. In other news, we played a show last weekend. This is our first pod recording since the show. Pretty well. Went pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, sorry, I've done like 99% of the talking.
No, you're
because
good.
I've just been ranting back to back.
Dude, I'm all
But
for it.
The show was by far our best one that we've done. And the thing that was cool about it was like, you brought people that I don't know. So to me, it just felt like a room full of strangers. It wasn't like, oh, I'm playing for a room full of friends. It was like genuinely felt like we were exposing ourselves to new people.
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
we
like
did, for sure.
a bunch of people that you didn't bring to the show wound up just being there. So it was a pretty full room. And we definitely sounded like the best we ever have, I would say.
Yeah.
Like the songs were seamless.
It felt great
Yeah.
being up there. Sound was really good.
You got down on your knees for a second?
Yeah.
You went full
rocking a
fucking
solo.
Hendrix?
Dude, I had to give the crowd a little something. I was doing the mental calculus while I was ripping that solo of, is there enough
Can I get
headroom
back up?
above? No, come on, I'm an athlete. No, do I have enough room above my head to put the guitar behind there? Because that's the signature
I'm really
move.
glad you didn't do that.
Yeah.
Getting on the ground is like cool because it's like, yeah, you're really feeling the solo, but doing that is like you're showboating.
Well, I was intending to showboat fully. No,
Well, I'm sorry that you couldn't.
I don't regret going down on the knees, but I did have that. I was like, is this lame? I'm on my knees right now. Whatever. It was just for a second.
It was cool. It was
Cool.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Everyone started cheering real loud when you did it too. Everyone was like, "Woo, Colin!"
Yeah, dude, they were eating out of the palm of my hand.
Yeah,
Obviously,
you had
all
'em.
night long.
You had them, bro.
All night.
You really did.
No, it was a great time. Really fun show.
Hold on, you're gonna have to edit this out because I don't want to look bad. But
Name the band. Let's do some shout out. Shout out Public Picasso.
yeah,
Shouts
Public
out.
Picasso was really good.
Shouts out Cartoon Violence. Shouts out Broke Down Nuns.
Broke Down Nuns. I wanted to specifically say Broke Down Nuns is a great fucking band. Like
They're
they were
super dope.
they were so cool.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. Like the bassist was playing a Reverend, the same bass that Will has sitting over there, and then their guitarist was using an Egnator head,
I didn't
which is like
notice.
the same. He was
Yeah.
using a tweaker head, which is
yours.
Will's head
Same
sitting right
setup.
there. So I was like, damn, like between the tones being super familiar and then the songs being really cool, like they were super enjoyable. And Public Picasso, that was like next level musicianship. Like their drummer was like a fucking studio guy.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
Yeah,
it was
they were
insane.
super tight. So yeah, really fun time. Thanks
Yeah.
to everyone who came out.
Shout out also Colin Galloway.
Shout out
for-
Galloway.
Yeah, coming down and playing bass.
I mean, he's basically a full-time member of Podcadzo. We
Except-
can consider him one.
But that's the thing is like, Colin is in a lot of bands,
yes.
and so Colin was in those bands before Colin was in before Colin was in Cadzo.
Yeah.
Affectionately in Cadzo as an honorary member. So
yeah, they're
when
in
it
a
comes
lot.
to practices and stuff, he's not usually at
Yeah,
practices.
Colin's a hard person to pin down.
Yeah, but showing up to a set and then just ripping through the set like
Ripping
it's
it.
nothing.
And then we threw in a surprise song in there, which Colin had never played before.
Yeah, and then I was cool. Like on stage, he was not stoked. He was like a
Yeah.
little bit. He didn't want to ruin the song. It wasn't like
Yeah.
he wasn't like angry about it, but he was just like worried that he was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna like make us all look really bad.
Yeah.
But then after the set was over, a bunch of people came up to Colin and they were all like, I can't believe you played that song and you've never even played it before. Like, that's super impressive. So it just goes to show, like, even if you kind of make stuff up, if you do it convincingly, people are not really going to notice.
No, for sure.
So that's
He's
half the battle.
Sold it super hard. I felt kind of bad because I brought that up to Colin like earlier in the set. I was like, "How do you feel about throwing this one in?" And he was like, "I don't want to do it." And then later on, I was like, "Let's just do it. It will be okay." And he's like, "Oh, okay, fine." Like I just don't have a choice.
It was
here.
at a good time in the
And
set,
crushed
too,
it.
because, it was right before the closing song, which is arguably like the stronger song, one of the strongest songs we play live. That's why we close with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if it goes horrible and we only make it 20 seconds through, no one's going to fucking remember
No,
it. Yeah.
exactly.
And it'll be funny. It's
Exactly,
a
it'll
funny
be
story.
funny. Here's a song we're gonna try. If we totally screw it up, we're sorry. It'll
Yeah.
be funny. You know,
yeah.
we'll just end it abruptly.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple people told me like that was their favorite song on the set, which was surprising too.
Which the other thing that's funny about playing that song is because, okay, so the full backstory, I'm sure we've already said this on the pod, but it's a song from a different band that we were in together. And it was one of the first songs that you brought to me in that band. Because I think, not to speak for you, but like the old band had like one vision, but then like this song was like kind of an in-between of like what the old vision was and then like where you kind of wanted to go.
Yeah,
if
I
that
think that's fair.
kind of makes
Fair
sense.
statement.
So like it was always a very set in stone song what it was in the previous band. So now that we're just doing it for fun and like jamming it randomly, my mission statement is to play it completely differently every single time we play
Yeah.
it. So like even live, like the way I played it, I don't even remember how I played it, but like I'm never going to play it that way again. And it's just cool that like, most groups, especially like Benson and obviously Galloway too, but like most groups couldn't really take that super well. Like most groups it has to kind of be largely the same every time, otherwise it just falls apart.
Yeah.
But like even you in that song, like your parts are different, or like you structure it
that's the
differently
one
like almost every
I
time.
play around with the most.
Yeah, so it's just cool that we still ended together, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I like blacked out during that bridge part and came back to it and I was like, I don't even remember playing the bridge. What did I play there?
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt afterwards. I was
Uh-huh.
like, I don't remember how we got to the end of the song really. I don't really remember how we opened it up, like how we started it.
Uh-huh.
It just kind of happened, which is cool. And a nice, like, I guess kind of a nice different viewpoint on like playing songs live, because every band I've been in up till this point, it's like how we record it is how we're going to try to play it live, like as much as possible. And with Cadzo, it's like we practice so much and we know the songs so well that really we're a jam band at the end of the day. Like when we practice the songs, we're playing them differently, frequently. And it's cool too, like, not to say that like we're ripping off Vampire Weekend or like they're the only band we pay attention to, but like they also went through that kind of transformation of like playing the songs how they are, and then the rebirth of like now we're gonna play with them live and do a bunch of different versions of songs and stuff.
Sure. And even though Cadzo is a relatively new band, I do feel like, you know, because you and I were in that band before, that like Cadzo is just kind of like a progression off of that. So yeah, it does feel like we've like grown from, like we literally played to a click track in that band.
Yeah.
I was so anal about making everything sound exactly how,
Yeah.
and there was also practical reasons that like we were running tracks, so you had to be on a click.
Right, but a lot of the reasons that we were running those tracks was to replicate the songs.
Yeah, totally.
It wasn't like necessarily any of those elements were like core elements to the song, but they were all just the really fun.
Well, kind of, because we started playing live without a keyboard player, and there was a lot of synth in those songs.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, but anyways, really, really fun show. Like, I was just buzzing all night after that. It was the first. We've had mostly good Cadzo shows, bar the one at the bowling alley, which was still, it wasn't a bad show. It just was kind of funny.
It just kind of made us all mad.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing, okay. Actually, never mind.
Good, I don't know what you're gonna say, but good job, good restraint.
Redacted myself instantly.
Yeah, but this was the first Cadzo show where I wasn't in my head the whole time and like really like, okay, like can't fuck up. Like, what's the next part? Am I standing okay? Am I like doing the right thing? You know, with my face. I would really just like was feeling it. Like it was a lot of fun.
Do you really get that in your head most of the time about shows?
Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to like disappear completely in a song like I do at practice, usually in a show. Like if I start to, and that's not to say I'm like not enjoying myself or like not feeling the music or anything that's like robotic, but like if I start to lose myself in a song, I like immediately pull myself out and be like, you're on stage, like come on, act right.
Really?
Think about the next part of the song.
Okay.
What are you doing? But yeah, like this show, like I was able to like just like black out, like I said, on a lot of the songs,
Yeah.
and then come back and be like, wow, that was fun.
I could kind of see that like back in the day with like fucking, god damn it, why am I so stupid? Savage Cabbage.
Okay.
Back in the Savage Cabbage days, you were very serious. Like,
Yeah.
it was all about stage presence, and like you can't look like you give a shit. Like, you have to look like you're just there participating because you have to, and like the presence was always like the same. And then the next band we were in together, well, I wasn't in Savage Cabbage, but the first band we were in together, it was like a transition of like when we first started playing shows, it was like very serious, but then by the time we were, you know, nearing the end of the career there, like the shows were a lot lighter and there was a lot more of just I'm gonna just fuck around and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And now Cadzo for me is like it's the perfect example that I have for bands that just do whatever the fuck they want. Like, and I think that's super cool, and you play it off very well. I would never really know that like these days you're thinking like, oh fuck, like I gotta stand good, I gotta not look dumb, I gotta like maintain presence the whole time.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, yes, in Savage Cabbage, the first band, the credo was definitely if you jump around on stage, you're a total dickhead. and I'm not to say that doesn't work for other bands, but I was like, in my band, you act serious on stage, and you look like a professional. And
You guys are always very well dressed.
yeah,
Except
that
for
was,
Nathan.
Yeah.
Nathan was always
Yeah.
t-shirt and shorts.
I know. He'd show up with a bandana and be like, "What the fuck you doing, man?" Keaton and I are wearing cardigans. No, but it was great. And then, yeah, like, so now it's part of it's like a conscious effort to look like nonchalant on stage, kind of, or like, like I'm having fun. But I am having fun. But the Laramie Lounge show, yeah, I was really able to
Cut loose.
cut loose and enjoy myself. So yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
Really fun show.
Super awesome show.
Yeah. Hope
Can't wait to do it again.
Play there again soon.
Yeah.
Other news.
Shout out to other Julian who was working the door that night.
Was he the taller dude, long hair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a nice
Yeah.
guy. Nice guy.
I introduced myself to someone else. I was like, I'm Julian. He was like, wait,
Oh yeah, I
you're
overheard that.
Julian? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I'm Julian too. And I was like, fuck you.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. I remember him.
Yeah. Very good staff there overall. The sound guy was named Jordan, I think. Yeah, he was really cool. Very
cool.
good at his job.
Definitely went off flawlessly. Yeah, real like
Overall, perfect
night.
show.
Perfect
Yeah.
night. Had such a great time.
We got a sound check.
We got a real sound
That
check.
was our first sound check, I think.
Yeah. We did one at the bowling alley.
No, we didn't.
We didn't?
No. That was the whole fucking... Okay, now I'm going to say
you're
it.
right, you're
now
right.
I'm going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
I might
redacted.
be thinking of the
Now
last
I'm
whack
unredacting.
show at the bowling alley.
I'm unredacting myself
Yeah.
because this is the thing. Don't make a band show up to Loden at 3 p.m. if they're backlining the headliner's gear and the headliner's not even fucking there yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that night, we got there at 3. We didn't get a sound check because we're backlining the headliner's gear. The headliners were 3.5 hours late to load in, which isn't their fault. They were driving on the road like they're touring band, so sometimes you're going to be late.
That's right.
They were late by like 3.5 hours. The drums weren't there. The drums got there super late. They ran like a 1-song sound check because they're the headliners. And then us, the openers, got like a line check, which was the start of our set. So like our line check was the first 30 seconds of a song, and then we just started that song over again, and they cut that line check from our set time. So then the last song, like they're like waving us down and being like, yo, stop. And also the people right before us went 5 minutes over, so they were eating into our set time, and we got punished for that. We were the first people there. We were the first people to play. Like,
Yeah.
it was just bad overall. Like, and then we didn't get food. So, well, we got a pizza.
Which they very begrudgingly gave us.
They did not want to give us that
they didn't want to
pizza.
give us the pizza.
And the sound guy, who normally I think is a great guy and an awesome sound guy, he was just not fucking stoked to be there. So
No, it was rough vibes. And because we had like 8 hours to kill, I had like 20 beers and just
Yeah.
like got in a really bad mood before the show.
Well, okay. Normally, I would say just be patient, just let the show be itself, and then, it's all fine and good. Things are going to get off. People are going to be behind. Things are going to run long. It's fine. When the people before you intentionally play like 2 extra songs knowing full well that they're cutting into someone else's set time, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
If you do that at a show, especially a show that's put on by somebody else, like
That's not your
I
show.
would never invite you back. I would never ever be like, hey, like, just don't do it again. Like, I would be like, okay, you're done. Like,
Yeah.
because that's just so shitty. Like, again, we were the first people there. We had to wait super long to get on the stage, and then we were the ones who were punished the most for everyone else just fucking off. So it just makes no sense to organize a show that way.
Yeah. No, that one was shitty.
Yeah. And no one could blame you for being mad.
Yeah.
And it played into the songs really well.
It was
a very lively
cathartic.
set.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also let loose that set because I truly did not give a fuck that show. Anyways, third item I wanted to cover today. If you have
I thought you were
nothing
going to
else.
say Third Eye Blind for a second.
Anyways, third eye blind. No, we gotta save that for the Sandman. That'd be hilarious if we.
Let's
did
do it without him.
He's been talking about it for like 6 months, and we just record it
Do
without
it
him.
without him.
Julian and I had a really good idea we both just randomly listened to Third Eye Blind's
And we
debut
both,
album. We
you were
thought
right.
it was amazing.
It's super good.
Yeah.
We've already heard his take on it, though.
Yeah.
We don't need to hear it again.
We covered it, Connor, already. Yeah.
My favorite part about, well, not the last episode we did with him was overall super good. Check it out if you haven't yet. Vampire Weekend.
That was a good one.
But my favorite part of the whole sode was him doing his 5 best albums because we did ours without him. I was like, wait, we did it without him? Like, brother, move your happy ass to Colorado and get in a chair over here, and then we can say that we did shit without you. Like, you fucking anything without you, asshole.
I love it. You guys recorded that one without me, so I gotta give you. No, yeah, it's great. Connor is the honorary third member of. It should be Benson who's the honorary third member, but fucking Benson's never here.
Sanders has been on more than Benson. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Connor's been on more than any guest. I think
Alux has to come back on soon, dude. It's been too long since
I was just thinking
Alux
that. He just
episode.
hit me up on Instagram. I need to get back to him.
Oh, shit.
About something else, not about
Oh.
the pod. But
Okay.
we need to have Alux back on.
I got signed out
Shout
of
out
the Instagram, by the
Alux.
way.
Oh,
Yeah, shout out Alux.
the password is.
I should have known, dude.
Anyways, did you watch the Olympic closing ceremonies last night?
I did not.
Did you see that our boy Ezra made an appearance?
I did not. That's very cool.
Yeah. So,
Holy shit.
So, Paris Olympics.
Is he really that much of a global celebrity?
Well, Phoenix, the band,
Oh, yeah.
performed at the amazing.
They're
I
buddies.
love Phoenix. Yeah, and Ezra featured on a song off of Phoenix's last album, and they did that song live. So Ezra came on and performed that song.
Oh,
with
that's
him.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Phoenix's set was really, really good in the closing ceremonies.
How long is a set?
It was, dude, surprisingly long. Like they probably did 20 minutes
Holy shit.
for the closing ceremonies.
Wow.
You know, they're one of France's
I
great
mean, yeah,
cultural exports.
Yeah, that's true for sure. They're one of the biggest things to come out of France in a minute, but also like
It's like them and Daft Punk and Justice, who are other big French artists. Serge Gainsbourg, but he's dead. I'm being very reductive to French culture. Here are the 4 French people I know about.
the only ones that really did anything
There
for
were
music.
like 60s French pop was dope. What was the female French pop artist's name? Oh, she did stuff with Serge Gainsbourg.
What was the female French artist? Pop
She's
artist
really
name?
famous. You're gonna not Jane Birkin. Female French pop star 60s. I recognize none of these names.
All right. Well, while you're going down this pointless wormhole of absolute
Yeah, I
bullshit,
really. My bad. That was bad podcasting. Podcasting. That's what I was like. That's bad podcasting. I was fuck the French 60s bubblegum pop bullshit.
It's
I was
all
going to talk
bad.
about Phoenix.
Yeah,
You like Phoenix?
I do.
I love Phoenix.
Their last album was very good.
Super good.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best produced albums
That is true.
in a hot minute. Yeah, like most other people, I hopped on the Phoenix train when Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix came out. And that was probably like when I think of that time in my life, like that's the soundtrack for it. Like that's when I was like just getting into like the indie rock thing. I remember I had a Pandora indie rock station.
That's
that
kind of
I'd
when it was
play-
also starting to break onto the radio too. a
Definitely
lot.
like 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So that was the peak of it. And I had a Pandora indie station that I listened to, and Phoenix loomed larger than maybe any other artist on there. So I've been a big Phoenix fan ever since then. And they have a really interesting career arc. I was thinking about it last night. Because that album, Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix, they had a couple hits before that one, but that's really what, put them into the mainstream. They were together for 14 years before that album came out. They formed in 1995.
Holy shit.
And that album was 2009. So, and it feels like such a young album in a good way, like in a great way.
It has a lot of, I would say, like production
It's
maturity.
very polished, yeah, very well produced, but like the theme of the songs, I don't know, the energy of it, it just feels like a young band.
Yeah.
But they were like, in their mid-30s then, and
so
together
they were
for
basically
14
dinosaurs.
years. Yeah, by indie rock standards.
It's crazy, like so many indie people that are just like now in their mid 40s or maybe a little older, they all just seem so old and wise. Like Jeff Tweedy, like if I had a kid, I would want Jeff Tweedy to be like his godfather, Or like
Jeff Tweedy's kind of always seemed that way. He's always been an old soul.
But yeah, he was kind of more just like it didn't always seem like there was a whole lot of like inherent wisdom there, but now it does.
Yeah.
Or like Matt Berenger. It's like that dude's just a wise old man, but he's only like 40 something.
He was pretty old when National started though. Pretty old, like 30,
Yeah, by music standards.
By music standards.
If you're not famous by the time you're like Billie Eilish's age when she got famous, then you're like done for.
I think it's so. I mean, there's no rules to this or anything, but I think
there should
it's interesting, more interesting, a lot of the time when an artist is older, when they like reach success. Like we were just talking about Sturgill Simpson. Like it's pretty rad. Sturgill Simpson was like in his late 30s, I think, by the time he gained any notoriety, mid 30s maybe. It's just like cool for a person to have like lived a life and like been an actual adult and like gone through relatable stuff and then become a notable voice in music.
You don't really have to see him like figure it out as much.
Yeah.
Like when you get famous young, people watch you figuring it out a lot more. Sturgill Simpson's like figured it out. Like he figured out what he wanted to do by the time he got famous or, broke through.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely matured. And like I said, there's no rules to it. There's obviously like most artists made it pretty young and are still writing, things that people find relatable. That's why they're successful.
Yeah.
So there's no rules to it. But yeah, I was thinking about that. I didn't really have too much to say about Phoenix. We talked about I threw out Daft Punk. I thought this was fun. I found this out last night. So Phoenix was conceived in the 1990s when vocalist Thomas Mars, bassist Dec D'Arcy, and guitarist Chris Mazzoli, who were all friends in school, started playing together as a quote-unquote garage band based out of Mars' house in Versailles. In 1995, Laurent Brankowitz, Marzali's older brother, permanently joined the band on guitar after the end of Darlin, a short-lived band that Brankowitz had formed with Tomar Ben Gottler and Guy Manuel de Roman Cristo, who would later form electronic duo Daft Punk.
Oh.
Not funny?
Yeah.
Small world.
I thought Daft Punk was around before that.
This was 1995. So let's see when Daft Punk was formed.
Daft Punk was, maybe it's like 99.
93.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 93. Speaking of Daft Punk, too.
They kind of suck.
Dude, I've been listening to a live. I was fully on that tip for most of my life, but Connor put me onto the Alive 2007 album. Yeah, Connor, the third member of Podcadzo.
If Connor...
Go ahead.
Nothing.
I can't wait for the texts that come through the chain after this episode from Connor.
I'm going to get lit up.
Yeah. But yeah, that Alive 2007 album is super dope.
Yeah.
I like Daft Punk.
Daft Punk sucks.
Yeah, let me think about that.
All electronic music kind of sucks.
I was also...
Put it broadly.
Yeah.
Some of it's good.
Some of it's good. It mostly sucks.
Most of it's bad.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right, brother. That's pretty much... What time are we at? 50 minutes. Okay, we still got time.
Yeah, we've got to go for a bit longer.
A bit longer.
Okay, so here's the thing. The Olympics... Did you hear about like the breaking thing? How it was kind of like a scam or whatever?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just kind of sucked.
Did you see the Australian
yeah,
guy?
Yeah. I feel kind of bad for her. Like
I feel horrible.
She probably thought like she was giving it her all. killing it, and then the entire world was just like, you suck. But I was gonna say the thing about the Olympics and the fact that they have a wide variety of sports like that is you could pretty much pick any sport. Like, okay, I'm trying to give an example. I pretty much like all the sports, honestly, but
Me too.
I feel like there's at least one sport in each major category that like someone out there is like, this shouldn't be an Olympic sport. And since it's breaking's first time, like, of course there's gonna be like trials and errors, but there are like I don't know if this is true, I didn't look it up, but my girlfriend told me that they're like already not gonna do breaking in the next one.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, I don't know, that just sucks. Like, I feel like just because of a couple people that kind of sucked.
Well, LA
did like everybody suck?
No, there were some legitimately good people there, but it did feel kind of it. I just don't know if Olympics is the right context for breakdancing.
Because wasn't there a fair bit of like cultural appropriation and stuff too?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff just came off awkwardly. But LA, even before before the Olympics started in Paris, they had already announced like, we're not doing breaking at our Olympics, which is crazy because LA,
You'd
one
think.
of the homes of breakdancing historically.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was just a very awkward format too. Like the only breaking competitions I saw were battles, so it was two people battling, which already seemed weird to judge.
Yeah.
And so it'd be one guy breakdancing and then another one just standing awkwardly, like judging the other guy. And this is like, breakdancing is super dope. It's awesome. I've watched breakdancing competitions before, like when Red Bull does them, something. I just don't think the Olympics were maybe the right context to have breakdancing in. But I don't know. I enjoyed most of the performances I saw, and it's definitely, obviously, a very impressive art form in sport.
Very, very expressive.
Yes.
I just felt bad because it was like how quickly it got written off, and how much everyone was clowning on someone who, had the courage to expose themselves on an actual world stage. Like,
yeah, and she's like a professor of breakdancing. She's like really, really into it, and I don't know.
Well, they say those who can't do teach.
True. Those who can't teach breakdancing.
Okay. Well, fuck. Now I really got nothing.
That's all right. We can make this one a shorter one. We covered everything I wanted to talk about. Jack White, our show at Larimer Lounge, Phoenix. Check.
We didn't talk about gay sex yet.
I thought we usually do that off mic.
Oh, I have in my notes.
I usually. Oh, good. The notes are back.
Oh, let's follow up on some Rick Beato shit really quick.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because.
Okay, I've watched some of his videos since then. That guy's the biggest tool
He's such
ever.
a tool.
I hate all of his videos. I haven't liked a single one, and a lot of them, he comes across as like a liar.
Yeah,
like, you're lying about this story, or like the one I watched.
Not even that he's lying. It's just like, you weren't even fucking there. You're trying to like talk about like, oh, the good old days. This is a fun story about back then. But then half the time, it's just a story that you got off the internet and you weren't even fucking there, bro.
The one I was thinking of, he recorded a video about the title of it is like, has the whole world gone insane? And I thought it was going to be more stuff about him shitting about popular music. But it was like, I was my son was rehearsing for a show. Me and my wife were watching him, and his guitar was out of tune. And I commented to my wife, "Oh, his guitar is out of tune." And my wife said, "Oh, I can't tell because I don't know this song." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean? It's just out of tune. Like, it's out of key with itself." And she's like, "Oh, well, if I knew the song, maybe I would have been able to tell that, but I don't know." And then he was like, and then that very same night, my sister called me, and I said, "Oh, I was just watching my son play guitar, but it was off key." And my sister said the exact same thing. And so I was like, first of all, if you did actually say to your sister, you're a dick, that you like brought up that your son was playing a song
That's
poorly.
The only thing you said?
Yeah.
Oh, my son fucked up this song earlier.
And then I feel like you're lying about your sister having the exact same opinion, that she wouldn't be able to tell if something's off key or out of tune if she didn't know the song. I feel like you're just making up examples to support your point about how you have the golden ear.
Yeah.
And you can tell when things are out of tune or off key.
And like that even fucking matters to begin with. When his son got off the stage, he's just like, your guitar was out of tune, bro. Like,
well, he was playing at home in the story, rehearsing for a show.
Okay. Yeah. So he didn't even have to wait. He was just like, hey, bro, you're out of tune, you fucking moron. Yeah.
I know you can't tell because you're not Rick Beato.
You're not the man.
Yeah. Doesn't he have a whole thing about his son having like a perfect ear? Hasn't he like trained him to like identify every note,
he
every
says
chord?
That you can be trained. I don't know necessarily if I know the full context of it, but what I heard in a video one time was that he was basically saying you could like train someone to have perfect pitch, which for the record, it's like scientifically proven that you cannot train someone to have perfect pitch. You literally have like a neuro path in your brain that's just more connected, so you
if you have perfect
understand pitch.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a thing you can figure out over the years.
The thing I think
you can recognize when a pitch is off, but like having perfect pitch means like if I play like a concert G, like someone upstairs could be like, that's a concert G, you know?
I think he claims his son has that because I saw like a clip of him playing chords on a piano and his son was able to identify every note in the chord.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know, I honestly feel like Benson could do that, but that's not the same as having perfect pitch. That's just recognizing notes and chord shapes.
Yeah.
Like if you hear a chord, like a 3-part or a 4-part chord, like, and you can identify one note, it's pretty safe to say you know what the other 4 notes are because you just know the intervals. Yeah, exactly. Okay, the follow-up that I just wanted to make about Rick Beato specifically was just that since we made our video about his videos, I feel like I might have missed something. I could be wrong. Maybe I am. But
I definitely am.
There's been no follow-up from him about like saying like, hey, like I put out these videos and like a bunch of you are like mad and I'm sorry and maybe I was wrong. Like the only thing that he's really said about his other videos was like, oh, I put out these videos a few weeks ago and a bunch of you didn't like them. So anyway, and then he's like talking about like, here's this guitar solo from like Ziggy Stardust or some fucking bullshit. Like he completely just went about his business and like there's been no follow-up of any kind. So in my opinion, that's kind of him just saying, I'm right. There is no conversation about this. It's just my opinion is the right one. Anyone who disagrees is a fucking moron.
He released a video 10 days ago that was titled, I admit ... I got owned. And I saw that and I was like, sweet. He's admitting he was wrong, and it's not about that at all.
I watched that too. That video is so dumb. He's like, isn't it just him being like, I misremembered a story.
It was him
basically.
like also kind of humble bragging too, being like a super famous person commented on my post, and I didn't realize who was super famous.
Yeah, that's what it was. He's like, he misidentified a chord shape or a note, and then a dude commented on it and was like, oh, actually, this is how it's played.
No, he brought someone in, a keyboardist he knows that played in a video the best
breakdowns,
piano intros of all time for any song. And then one of the dudes who actually wrote one of those songs, I forget, it was a paler shade of white. I really remember that. Commented, and Rick Beato was like, yeah, you couldn't play that, fucking dumbass. And
it turned out to be the dude that
I wrote that. Yeah. It was something like that.
That was Rick Beato getting owned.
Yeah,
was just a very subtle, I would even just say like clerical error that he made or that someone else made on his behalf. And then he was like, oh man, like this will show that I am humble. This will show that I have humility. But really it was just, like another showboating story. And then the other thing that pissed me off about that was like the best piano intros or whatever, they were all from songs from the fucking 70s and 80s. Like, bro, you cannot possibly be like, I like new music and I listen to new shit all the time if literally every video you make is about someone from the fucking 70s or 80s. Like, we get it. Like, you're an old guy. You like classic rock. Just just own it. Just be like, this is the Rick Beato Classic Rock channel where we talk about classic rock. Don't be like, this is the Rick Beato fucking music police channel where we talk about how fucked up new shit is, and then we prove it by just repeating old shit ad nauseum forever. Like, holy fuck, bro, you're insufferable. Rick Beato, if you're listening, you are insufferable.
You guys, we are firmly anti-Rick Beato. This podcast is against him actively. If you are into this podcast, you do not like Rick Beato.
The thing about
Those
it
are
is,
ground
like,
rules.
occasionally there's something that might seem interesting. Like, he had Jimmy Chamberlain on, and they were talking about Smashing Pumpkins drums and like all of the crazy drum parts. I'm trying to think of like a specific song. It doesn't matter. But basically, they're just talking about like Jimmy Chamberlain's drums on really old Smashing Pumpkins songs from the 90s, and Rick Beato just be like, can you play that one fill from that one song? And then Jimmy's just like, yeah, I'll do it. And then he does it, and then Rick's just like, damn. I'll say that's interesting.
Good content.
Not
well, yeah,
great.
he's
It's
able
not
to
good
get
content. That's the thing. It's
Interesting.
not good content. Because if it was good content, the entire video would be like good and worth watching, instead of just like the 3 seconds where I'm like,
yeah.
that was kind of
I'm
cool.
glad I saw that part.
Like, but Jimmy Chamberlain would be widely known as a great fucking drummer, whether or not that video ever happened, which is obviously besides the point. But it's just like,
It's the
what
thing
does
I
Rick
get-
Beato think he's doing?
It's kind of like
why
the
does
same
he
thing.
exist?
It's like the same Joe Rogan thing I get frustrated about, and it's like, okay, I don't know. This might be hard to express. Joe Rogan obviously deserves credit. He like invented podcasting to a certain extent. He struggled through for many years, with few listeners, and just like kept doing it even though everyone said he was crazy, and he became the biggest podcast on the planet. And now because of his name, he's able to get the biggest guests all the time. And I see those people on Joe Rogan all the time, and I'll listen to some of those episodes even though I don't really like Joe Rogan, just because I'm interested in that person. And when they're on it, I'm like, oh, why does it have to be Joe Rogan you're talking to? Like, can't it be someone who's actually like good at interviewing people and
That's
like
the
knows about you?
Yeah, like,
And Rick Beato has the same thing, like because he has 1 million YouTube subscribers somehow. People come on the show because it's a lot of exposure. It's like, dude, give us Sting here. That would be the best content you've ever. If Sting came on Podcadzo, Sting, dude, you gotta like. You can't tell me that wouldn't be the best interview of all time.
hell,
if
I'll
the
take
two
Stuart
of us,
Copeland.
I would take that one. Might get a little dicey. Andy Summers for sure.
That
Sting or
one,
Andy Summers. Stuart Copeland, yes. If you're the best we can get from the police, we'll take you. I know he's a good drummer. I just don't.
yeah. Well, no, that's the thing. You put it very well, actually. Like, Joe Rogan, like, he'll have amazing people on, but then, like, when they come on, he'll just be like, yeah, so, like, I heard about this one story. You want to tell me that story?
Yeah,
and then they'll, like, tell a story for a bit. And
Or
he's
he
kinda
just
like,
talks about what he wants to talk about anyways, and the other person's just there to have a conversation.
hear that the COVID vaccine was actually linked to fucking like squirrel rabies in infants in North Carolina? Like, brother, we got to spend 2 hours overblowing the completely false narratives.
Dude, he's such a dumbass, and his comedy blows.
He never seems interested in the people who are on his podcast.
no,
He never
it's
seems
just-
to know that much about
Well,
them.
and how could you do fucking thousands? Like, he's done thousands of them every day. He's having like a 4-hour conversation with somebody. Like, it's not. And that's why a lot of people like it, just because it feels like a conversation. But it's just frustrating to like see some of those people go on there who like are truly the best in their field and like some of the greatest minds, and just they have to hear him talk about DMT or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, like I don't know.
Any platform, this is just an opinion. Hopefully someday it's hopefully it's something that people agree on more than just like small scale someday. But like, if you have a large scale platform and you use it in any way to push false facts or like even entertain ideas which aren't proven 100% to be true, there needs to be a strong disclaimer more than just once at the bottom or at the beginning or something that's just like, hey, like, we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the thing that pisses me off about Joe Rogan so much is people are always like, he's so smart, like he just knows so much about everything, and it's like, no, he literally doesn't. If you watch it, he's Googling shit, or his assistant is Googling shit, and then he's just like, oh, see, that one study like totally agrees with my one narrative that I have, so that's the truth.
Yeah.
And then not even trying to say like, hey, like these are just things we're talking about, like they're not facts, like they're ideas. And then the intermingling of conspiracy randomly and treating conspiracy like it's fact, it's just confusing people, Joe. It's not like opening people's eyes to any new information or making them change their worldview. It's literally just confusing the fuck out of people and making people more mad at each other. And like, you just get to sit in your fucking chair and do it all the time and make money off of it, and you know that it works and you know that people like it, so you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
But there's no way for the average individual to know like if what you're saying is the fucking truth or not. So it's just like, again, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop it. Fucking stop it.
And it like I maybe listen to Joe Rogan like twice a year, just like I said, when interested people come on. But when I do listen, at some point in the episode, I'm screaming at my phone like, how do you not know this? Like, like the last one was, I forget which episode it was, but like I think he didn't know like what year Abraham Lincoln was the president or something, and just couldn't figure it out. I was like, it was the Civil War, you fucking dumbass. I heard a great description of him by someone that was like, because Joe Rogan was like 30, 35 when he started smoking weed. He's like, yeah, dude, he's just like a dude who is just coming up with like a stoner personality. Like he is us when we were 17, like talking about the things we found interesting because we had just started smoking weed. But he has $300 million and the largest audience in the world to to
and
spout
also he wears his habits on his sleeve. Like his lifestyle is the superior lifestyle. But a lot of the things that he does are like things that he just recently started doing.
About how if you're not a comedian and if you have an office job, you're the biggest fucking loser in the world. That's some like, as little as I listen to him, I hear him talk about it all the time. Like,
that's like,
I feel bad for all the fucking losers out there who have to work a desk job and
that's
aren't
that Tom
comedians
Segura
like
shit,
me. Yeah.
Like calling people poor. Like, if you can't come to this show, it's because you're poor. Like, if you don't like me, it's because you're poor. Like, if you use washcloths, you're poor. Like, that was a joke, and that was kind of funny. But then it started being like, yeah, just the poor lifestyle, and it actually alienates a lot of people, I feel like. Maybe I take it too seriously. Maybe I don't have a good enough sense of humor to whatever connect with it. But in my opinion, you're kind of alienating your own fan base by like calling them out for literally living the life that they like have to live to get from point A to point B.
And a life that like, yes, that's the classic thing. Like a lot of people working dead end jobs, being hopeless, being desperate, they can't change their lives, they're unhappy. That's obviously a thing. But like having a normal job does not equal loser. Like throwing away your life.
I have a normal job and I struggle to like make ends meet sometimes, and I definitely don't have everything I want to have, but I guarantee you that I paid more in state taxes last year than fucking Joe Rogan did.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that I put more into the Commonwealth than Joe Rogan does.
It's just, it comes across so badly to be like, anyone not doing what I'm doing, smoking weed and having a podcast and doing whatever the hell I want is a loser.
Like,
you're in the Matrix.
On a red meat only diet, fucking working out for 6 hours a day, you're a fucking fat loser.
You're a plebeian.
Yeah. Do you not remember like when Tom Segura was kind of a fat, lazy piece of shit? And like how that was his whole act was like, I'm kind of fat. I'm kind of a slob. Like, I'm going to lean into it.
Yeah.
Like he used it to his benefit until he thought it wasn't funny
anymore. When he was actually funny?
When he used to be funny. And then he was like, okay, well, like I'm going to get skinny and then just shit on fat people and poor people. It's like, dude, like there's like, how can you not realize that there's a complete disconnect there? Like the people that liked you because you were relatable aren't going to like you now that you're purposely trying to make yourself not seem accessible. Like,
yeah.
And then he's just like, well, I am accessible. I tell stories about my kids. It's like, dude, you tell stories about driving your kids around in your fucking Porsche.
Yeah.
Or like taking them on a 6-month fucking vacation.
Backstage to the O2 when you headline there. Yeah, man.
It's like, that's not a normal life. You realize that, right?
I'm done with all the comedy podcasts. Like, they just bother me now a lot. I listen to Podcadzo. I listen to Time Crisis. Listened to a couple other music podcasts. I listened to Comedy Bang Bang.
The Comedy Bang Bang pod is really good.
Anything Scott Aukerman.
Scott Aukerman is
fire.
a legend.
You've got me really into Freedom. I've been listening to Freedom every week. I love this. And yeah, Paul F. Tompkins is man. Paul F. Tompkins, that'd be the best interview.
Yeah,
come on podcadzo.
Please,
we
Paul.
Would praise
Honestly,
you.
this is probably just me being naive. I think that he might actually do it. If we had like 10,000 followers or like just a minute amount of revenue that we could offer, he would probably do it. Because he's been on At Midnight, he's been on After Midnight like 3 times in the last 6 months. So
yeah,
he's not that busy.
Not that busy.
Also, if we could get Taylor Tomlinson on this podcast, that would be sick.
Taylor Tomlinson's funny.
She's only like 3 years older than us. I feel like we could have a real conversation.
Yeah.
Well, she's like 4 years older than us. But yeah, I feel like we could have a real conversation with her and like we would understand a lot of the same shit. Like we would have a lot of the same worldviews and stuff. And yeah, she'd be funny.
Yeah.
Unlike you.
Dude, don't never underestimate what I bring to this podcast.
You do bring a lot to this podcast.
It's one half of the people here and about 20% of the content.
I talk a lot more than you usually because I just need a lot more words to say stuff.
No. I say very little and I'm not articulate. It's a bad.
No.
I get nothing across.
That's not true. You drive this. That's where I was going with this. You drive the whole thing.
No. We drive it equally, bro. It's a shared effort. I need you to podcast. You could pod with the best of them.
Nah.
You could.
No. I think if it was a podcast, because most people that have podcasts are like, it's going to be about something. Like it's going to have a point. It's going to have production value, whatever it might be. Like other people would take it too seriously, I think, for me. This is the perfect level of seriousness where it's like, all we really care about doing is getting an episode out every week or 2. That's really the only goal. And we could do that all day long. Like we've said it in the past. If we could get enough revenue to make this a full-time job, this is what we would be doing all the time. But then we would turn into Joe Rogan. We'd be horrible.
Yeah,
probably.
We'd phone it in.
Yeah.
But we have enough respect that as soon as we realize we're bloated versions of ourselves, shells of our former selves, we'd continue
to phone it in.
We'd continue to phone it in and take the money. And then once the money became enough for our decadent lifestyles and when our drug habits progressed enough, we'd probably stop doing it then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'd at least have that respect for
the
our
thing
listeners.
About like our trajectory right now on that is like we're 27.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to make something big happen by like the end of the year.
Do we? Yeah. There's that timeline on it?
Well, because I mean, Amy Winehouse was 27.
Oh,
Kurt Cobain was 27.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I've been saying.
If we're going to get to that like drug-induced, fully bloated, just absolute shell of a human lifestyle, we got to do it quick, dude. Because we're going to be dead by the end of the year.
Any time after 27.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you live past 27, like pretty much all the appeal is gone. Like you're no longer cool. You're no longer sexy. You're no longer interesting to the masses. You're just an old fuck taking up oxygen, ready to die.
Dude, if you had told me when I was 17, like, yes, you can become super famous and die by the time you're 27, I'd be like, yes.
That was literally my goal, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I used to joke about it.
Yeah.
It's really, man, my sense of humor was fucked up back in the day, but like I used to literally think it was funny. Like, oh, I'll just die when I'm 27. Like,
yeah.
I'll get famous. I'll smoke a bunch of drugs and then I'll check out real early. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
And also when you're 17, you're like, that's who needs to live past 27? That's
you
like
can't
50
picture
years
10 years
from
into
now.
the future. Yeah.
And then 23 rolls around, you're like, that's coming up pretty
it's
close.
It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah. What I want to close on is Podcadzo is the best podcast on the internet right now, bar none. There are a couple that are up there too. I'm willing to admit that.
The one thing that Connor knows for sure is that this is the best podcast.
And even though we don't have the numbers, the listeners, the reviews to support this, it is the most successful podcast on the internet.
We might.
We might?
Yeah. Like, we could be getting shadow banned. They could just be forging our data.
Hiding streams from us?
Yeah.
I've long suspected that.
Because that's the thing. Like, I went to the airport a few months ago to go somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where the fuck I was going. Stay out of my life. But the dude at the
Epstein
airport.
Island.
Okay, well, he's dead. So now it's just the child sex island. You don't have to say his name anymore.
The island formerly known as Epstein Island.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where a lot of illegal activities may or may not occur. And I may or may not have been there. But anyway,
Anyways,
a dude at the airport literally saw me and was like, "You're the dude from Podcadzo." And I was like, "Hell yeah, dude. It's me."
You're like, "Get the fuck out of my face. Don't talk to me.
Security!
Loser." Yeah. Where's my security guard? What the hell? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say
That's
that
pretty
dude
cool.
actually turned out to be my uncle. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're also my nephew, Julia. That's crazy. I'm just putting together that's your podcast.
I just realized, my sister is your mom. Yeah.
Robert's your mother's brother. Bob's your uncle. All right, let's go.
That's a real strong
go on that
close.
bad joke.
That's a real strong close.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Please review the pod if you haven't before. Give us 5 stars.
If you're a local record store, don't withhold people from reserving vinyl.
Yeah, and maybe don't review this because Julian had, called you out pretty specifically.
I didn't say any names.
Well, you said basically every local record store,
No.
all sells vinyl.
No.
No, I know you didn't.
I called. Well, yeah, I called every local record store. All Sales was the only one that reserved me a
there you
copy.
go. You do the math
yes.
on which ones Julian was calling out. All right. That's an episode. Good night. We love you.